from the betting capital of the world. Giving raw and real breakdowns of mixed martial arts and recapping UFC events like no one else, with producer Martin on the ones and twos and combat sports betting expert Effie. You're listening to Any Action Sportscast. Any Action Sportscast. So put your headphones on and let's take this podcast to the next level.
This isn't a podcast. It's a sportscast.
What is up, guys? We are back. Thanks so much for watching another episode of Any Action Sportscast. I'm your host, Effie, and this week we're going to be going over UFC Vegas 60, Sandhagen vs. Yadong. Now, I think this card is filled with a lot of bettable fights, close fights, and a few bangers. Before we do that, as always, guys, make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're almost at 125 subscribers, and we really appreciate all the support. Now, we are a little bit late this week. Usually, we film on Tuesdays and release on Wednesdays, but currently, we're recording this on Thursday. And that's because I've been busy dealing with the police all week, bro. And that's because I was witness to a robbery on Saturday. I wasn't the only one. There was actually a ton of people that watched this robbery with me. It happened at T-Mobile Arena, and the victim was Li Jinliang. He was robbed by Daniel Rodriguez and the 3 judges that night. Absolutely unreal. So with that, let's go ahead and review how we did at UFC 279. It was a terrible, terrible night for us, guys. Let's go from top to bottom. We had Tony Ferguson over Nate Diaz, 1.25 units, minus 125. That lost. He looked like an old man. Time to get this guy out of the UFC. Or just let him fight bums. Let him fight up-and-coming bums. Yeah, just don't ever want to see Tony fight again. Terrible, terrible bet. After that, like I said, we had the robbery of the century. Stop Asian hate. The Leech clearly won that fight. After that, we had our biggest bet of the night, cash. Irene Aldana, minus 170, 1.7 units to win 1. That hit. And guys, I'll be honest, that was seconds away from not hitting. If it wasn't for one of the craziest knockouts we've seen this year, we would have lost that as well. But that came through, so we're happy with that. After that was a parlay that got turned into a straight. Duwado to win, minus 200. This was actually parlayed with the Leech to when he was fighting Tony Ferguson. So yeah, this became a straight one-on bet, and we lost this. He didn't look that good. He missed weight, and yeah, he just got outworked by GCJ Rosa. Congrats to him. After that, we hit a prop bet that should have been a full unit bet looking back. Chimaev wins via decision, plus 240, and we sprinkled a half unit on that. I mean, guys, the levels of wrestling between Colin and Chimaev are just unreal. We probably should have went bigger on that, but I was worried that he was going to get a TKO stoppage on the ground as well. After that, we had a 1.5 unit parlay busted at plus 109 odds by Fat Jake Collier. He had Barnett's jaw broken, his eye socket open, and he still couldn't finish Chris Barnett, the 5'9" heavyweight. You gotta be kidding me, man. That was a tough loss, but oh well, we gotta move on. This week's gonna be a fun weekend, man. We have this UFC event, we have Canelo versus Triple G, and we have college football and NFL, man. It's gonna be a fun week to have any action, so let's get right to it. The first fight at UFC Vegas 60 is going to be taking place in the lightweight division between Nikolas Motta and Cameron VanCamp. Motta comes in at 12-4, VanCamp comes in at 15-6-1. Motta is currently the favorite at minus 210, and VanCamp the underdog at plus 165. Now, I don't get that line, guys. I don't see how Nikolas Motta could be such a big favorite over a fighter that, in my opinion, is pretty much as equally skilled as he is, and has a significant size advantage over Motta. VanCamp's going to be 4 inches taller than Motta and have a 5-inch reach advantage. That's pretty significant because I think this is going to be a stand-up fight, guys. And if anyone does take this fight to the ground, I think it's going to be VanCamp. I think VanCamp has the ability to get this fight along the cage and in the clinch and take down Motta and drag this fight out. Now, guys, both these guys are finishers, and both these guys get finished themselves. Both guys actually got knocked out in their previous fight. We saw Jim Miller knock out Nikolas Motta in what I thought was pretty unexpected. I didn't expect that at all. I had money on Nikolas Motta that night. So it's not like I don't like the guy, and I don't think he's a good fighter. I do think he's a good fighter. He's going to have a pretty good UFC career. The same gym as RDA, pretty good striker, quick striker. Probably the better technical striker than VanCamp here, but I can't get over that size and reach advantage, guys. I don't know if I'm going to be betting this fight, but I do lean VanCamp. I'm pretty shocked at this line. So I'm actually going to go against the grain. I'm going to pick VanCamp via decision. And up next, we have a banger of a fight in the bantamweight division between Tony Gravely and Javid Basharat. Gravely comes in at 23-7, Basharat undefeated at 12-0. Earlier this week, Basharat was minus 180. He currently sits minus 165. Earlier this week, Gravely was plus 155, and he currently sits plus 145. So money's been coming in on Gravely, and I totally get it, guys. This guy is a legit grappler, and in my opinion, he's usually the type of fighter that I would like to bet on. The thing is, he's standing in front of a prospect that I think is legit. I'm real high on Basharat. He's super well-rounded. Out of his 12 professional wins, he's finished 11 of them, 6 via knockout, 5 via submission, right down the middle pretty much, and you love to see that. He had a really good performance in an experienced fight against Trevin Jones, where they went to decision, and to me, he impressed. The kids fighting out at Oshim Couture, really good gym. Eric Nixon's a really good coach, so I'm sure they have him doing the right things. But as far as this fight, can he get control on the mat? Can he lose minutes on the mat? Yeah, I think so. But I don't think that's going to happen for 15 minutes. I don't think that's going to happen for over 5 minutes. I think in that second or third round, we're going to start to see Javid pull away. I really do think that he's a better striker here. But like I said, guys, his opponent, Gravely, is usually the type of prototype fighter that I would like to bet on. But I'm going to go with the younger guy. I was about to say underdog, but he's really the favorite. But it's just funny because, like I said, he's 12-0, young kid, but he doesn't really have the level of competition that Gravely does. So I don't blame anyone picking Gravely or betting on Gravely. But for the pick, I don't have any action on this bet, but for the pick, I want to pick Javid Basharat to win via second round submission. Up next, we have a women's flyweight fight between Mariya Agapova and Gillian Robertson. Agapova comes in at 10-3, and Robertson comes in at 10-7. Robertson is currently the favorite at -140, and Agapova the underdog at +115. Now I gotta say, guys, I'm torn on this fight. I think that Agapova can absolutely decapitate Robertson on the feet, and we all know that she can get absolutely controlled and mauled on the ground. Robertson has a clear, obvious game plan she needs to stick to here, and that's take this fight down and win this fight on the ground. We just saw Agapova lose to Morose her last fight. I think Morose is way better than Robertson. I think she would smoke Robertson herself. And I gotta say, guys, Agapova must have got kicked out of wrestling class over in Kazakhstan or something, because my girl can't wrestle. Like, you can't lose to Dobson and get out wrestled and lose the way she did to Dobson as the biggest favorite at that time, I think, ever to lose in UFC history, and lose the way she did. And like, you can't do that. That is forever like in the back of your head, tattooed in the back of your head. You just can't forget that. Like, that is something that you'll never forget. So, I mean, and it's something that she hasn't really improved. We saw her, show lack of ability on the ground in her last fight. Robertson, in my opinion, though, she's not that good. I'm not impressed by her at all, really. And for her to be -140, to bet 1.4 units to win one on her, you're really betting on her to be able to stick to the game plan, knock us out, and get this fight down 3 times, once in every round. Because if she can get this fight down one time, the round's probably over. The round's probably going to go to her. But man, I'm going with Agapova because I think that you're pretty much betting on, if you're picking Agapova, which I am, I'm not betting on her, but I'm picking her. If you're picking her, you're pretty much thinking, okay, she's probably going to show improvements. She's really young, but so is Robertson. Robertson's only 27 years old, has a ton of pro experience. But dude, Agapova has that size and just physicality advantage to where I think that she's going to be able to show improvements and spark this girl on the feet. So give me the underdog, Agapova, to win this fight via knockout. Up next, we have a lightweight fight between Trey Ogden and Daniel Zellhuber. Ogden comes in at 15-5. Daniel, making his UFC debut, comes in at 12-0. Earlier this week, Zellhuber was -230. And guys, his line has gone absolutely steamed. He is -330 now. On the other hand, Trey Ogden, the underdog, is +195, and he's currently now +245, +240. Now, guys, I understand why that money's coming in. First of all, Trey Ogden, in his last fight, you could have argued he won against Jordan Levitt. Jordan Levitt, in my opinion, is actually a really underrated grappler. But guys, he was getting outstruck by Jordan Levitt. He was getting his front leg, lead leg kicked at will, and he couldn't stop it, couldn't check leg kicks from Jordan Levitt. And guys, if you can't do that against Jordan Levitt, you're going to get crushed by Daniel Zellhuber. That line movement, it makes total sense. I totally get why. I bet a bunch of people out there are parlaying Zellhuber. Because in my opinion, Trey Ogden needs to get this fight down, and he needs to submit Daniel. Daniel's shown very good takedown defense on the regional scene, very good submission defense, and he's an up-and-coming young Mexican stud. The kid has a huge size and reach advantage over Trey Ogden. Well, not that big. He has a good reach advantage. The height advantage is only 1 inch. The reach advantage is 6. But yeah, man, I'm all over the kid, Daniel here. At this line, I don't know if I'm going to bet him or parlay him, but yeah, he should win this fight very easily, in my opinion. Up next, we have a sanctioned murder. A female strawweight fight between Loma Lookboonmee and Denise Gomes. Loma comes in at 6-3. Denise comes in at 6-1. Loma earlier this week was -270, and she's currently -220. Earlier in the week, Denise was +220, and she's currently +185. Now, I'll be honest, guys, I don't understand that line movement at all. I think Loma has fought better fighters, beaten better fighters, and is a better fighter. To see that money come in on her is pretty insane as far as Denise. She says this is a short notice fight for Denise. She has never fought anyone near the level of Loma, and she doesn't really possess the skill set that usually is what beats Loma, which is getting her down and controlling her on the feet. Usually, Loma loses to fighters that are way bigger than her and just overall have a grappling advantage over her because she comes from a Muay Thai background. She comes from one of the best gyms, Tiger Muay Thai, and now she has switched gyms to another really good gym, Bang Tao Muay Thai, over in Thailand. And she's coached by one of the best coaches in all of the world, guys. The Hickman brothers definitely will have her wrestling looking good. I'm telling you, I really expect Loma to look good here, fighting a fighter who's on short notice, taking this match to make her UFC debut, who has never fought anyone, like I said, the level of Loma. As far as striking goes, I expect this fight to be on the feet. I don't expect either fighter to get this fight on the ground, and if it does get to the ground, I expect it to be Loma initiating the trip takedowns from the clinch along the cage. I don't see Denise shooting or trying to get this fight down in the open mat, where I do think that Loma is going to be safe on the feet, keep this fight on the feet, and if it stays there, guys, she's going to win a 15-minute striking match. She might finish this girl. I will say this though, she has a ton of volume, Loma does, and Denise loves to go forward, loves to be the girl initiating striking. She has a ton of power, I'll give her that. But that's the one thing she does have over Loma. I will say that. Loma does not have very much power. She lands legit body kicks, good elbows in the clinch, really good elbows in the clinch, and she has a really good double collar tie, and she just lacks power, but dude, she puts it on, girls. I really do think that she's going to be safe everywhere in this fight, and she's going to win a 3-round decision. So give me Loma Lookboonmee, minus 220 for 2.2 units. This is our first bet of the night, and I feel good about it. And up next, we have a smoke break fight in the women's bantamweight division between Aspen Ladd and Sara McMann. Aspen comes in at 9-3, and Sara McMann comes in at 13-6. Currently, Aspen is a minus 140 favorite, and Sara is the underdog at plus 115. Now, guys, I'm not going to bet on this fight. I probably won't even watch that much of this fight because I'll be honest, I don't like betting on Aspen Ladd or even watching her fights. And Sara McMann is a 41-year-old wrestler who has bad knees at this point. Yes, she's an Olympic-level wrestler, but guys, that was over 15 years ago. It's hard to base that, into her skill set now. She's obviously, in my opinion, a bit of a gasser. She's going to look good in the first round, but as the second and third round come, that's when Aspen should take over. At the same time, I'm not going to be banking on Aspen to do that. Aspen's on a 2-fight losing streak, and the girl that she did beat most recently, Yana Kunitskaya, is not UFC level at all, in my opinion. She sparked her, dropped her with that left hook and finished her later, but I'm not impressed by Aspen Ladd at all. Aspen's Fade City. I wish I could fade her with an actual good fighter, but Sara McMann is not that. She's 41 years old fighting in the UFC. Aspen Ladd's taking hikes with her dogs every day, 5-mile hikes with bad knees. So give me Aspen Ladd, the younger fighter, but not confident at all and do not care much about this fight. Up next, we have a straight-up banger in the welterweight division between Trevin Giles and Luis Cosce. Trevin Giles comes in at 14-4. Luis comes in at 7-1. Now, Trevin is a moderate favorite at minus 210, whereas Luis is the underdog at plus 180. I gotta agree. I do think that Trevin Giles should be the favorite, but I don't think that I'm gonna be betting this fight because both the finishing ability of both these guys is pretty high. Whether it be getting finished or finishing the fight themselves, I think it's live in my opinion. I think the best bet for this fight is fight doesn't go the distance, but it should be priced pretty high because both these guys are killers, man. Luis Cosce is fighting at a Syndicate MMA. He's actually teammates with the guy that finished him in his last fight, Sasha. Sasha's out on the regional scene. I just seen him fight the other day at the Thomas Mack Center. Where Trevin Giles, another thing that, sort of outside the octagon that's going to play a factor in my opinion in this fight is that he just quit being a full-time cop. He's an officer. So now he's full-time MMA. So imagine trying to balance being a police officer and training MMA. It's got to be hard. So you got to imagine we're going to see some improvements by him. He's a pretty good striker, pretty good grappler. He's definitely the more well-rounded mixed martial artist, whereas Luis is more of a striker. I mean, guys, all 7 of his wins are in the first round. He just really clips these bums that he's fighting. So yeah, give me Trevin Giles. Not too confident in this bet or pick, really, because I do think that the finishing ability is live for both guys. I think that if Trevin survives the first round, he should be safe. So give me Trevin Giles via 3rd round knockout. Next, we have a featherweight fight between Damon Jackson and Pat Sabatini. Damon Jackson comes in at 21-4-1, whereas Pat Sabatini comes in at 17-3. Pat Sabatini earlier in the week was minus 220, and he currently sits minus 195. Damon Jackson earlier in the week was plus 175, and he currently sits plus 155. So money's been coming in on Jackson. And I gotta say, guys, I'm pretty surprised at that. I think that Pat Sabatini is gonna win. I'm pretty confident in that pick. I think that he's a better overall grappler and wrestler, and I think that's what this fight's gonna come down to. Damon Jackson, since getting absolutely viciously knocked out by Ilia Topuria, has looked well and has pretty much beat everyone the UFC has put in front of him. But I gotta say, I rate Pat Sabatini's wrestling against TJ Laramie way higher than I do Damon Jackson's wrestling against his most recent opponent, Arguleta, who's a 145er who took the fight on short notice making his UFC debut. And also, not for nothing, Damon Jackson's hairline starts like halfway up his head. I mean, you can't be betting on a guy that, with that kind of hairstyle. Come on, dude, go bald. What are we doing? But for real though, as far as the fight goes, let's say striking, Damon Jackson will be the longer fighter, lankier fighter, you could say. But I don't think that's gonna matter here. Pat Sabatini has a really good jab. But I just think that he's gonna be able to get his fight to the ground whenever he wants. Damon Jackson doesn't have very good takedown defense, and like I said, it's gonna come down to who's better on the mat, and I think that's Pat Sabatini. So give me the younger fighter, Pat Sabatini, to win the decision here. I'm pretty confident in this pick. Next, we have a middleweight fight between Anthony Hernandez and Marc-André Barriault. Anthony Hernandez comes in at 9-2. Marc-André comes in at 14-5. All week, Anthony Hernandez has been holding steady as a -175, -170 favorite, whereas Marc-André has been holding steady as a +145, +150 underdog. Now, I gotta say, guys, I think that line's a bit wide. I think they should line closer to a pick'em, because this essentially comes down to, can Anthony Hernandez stick to his obvious game plan, and put his pace on Marc-André. Marc-André, has never been submitted, and he's fighting a guy, Anthony Hernandez, that loves to get his fights to the ground and submit his opponents. On the feet, I lean Marc-André, bro. I think that he's a better striker, quicker striker, and yes, Anthony Hernandez is going to have a 1-inch reach advantage, but I do think that Marc-André is a better striker. He has better combinations, and yes, there's a clear advantage on the ground for Hernandez. But I don't know if that's going to be there in the second and third round. I'm interested to see how the gas tanks of both fighters are going to hold up, because I do lean Marc-André in that area. So give me Marc-André at these odds, man. I think that there's value. He's never been submitted. Man, it's hard. It's hard to pick Anthony Hernandez, who's not very good in stand-up. And if you can't get the guy down and hold him there, I don't know how he's going to win this fight. Give me Marc-André to win via decision. Up next, in the sacrificial lamb division, we have Alen Amedovski versus Joe Pfeiffer. Amedovski comes in at 8-3, Pfeiffer 9-2. Pfeiffer's a huge favorite here, guys, at -420. Shout out 420. And then we have Allen coming in at +325. Now I get it, guys. I'm not going to spend too much time on this fight. Amedovski is a terrible fighter. He's not UFC level. He's going to lose this fight and then get released by the UFC. Pfeiffer's going to finish this fight either in the first or second round. Bet under 1.5 rounds. If he gets screwed on the over, that would suck, because this is going to be a highlight reel finish for Pfeiffer. I will say this, though. -400. In the future, he's not going to be that. He should not be that. He's a good striker, good finisher, a good fighter. But, yeah. Give me Pfeiffer via knockout first round. Up next, we have a straight-up banger in the featherweight division between Andre Fili and Bill Algeo. Fili comes in at 21-9. Bill Algeo comes in at 16-6. Now, Fili comes in as a favorite at -130. Bill Algeo is the underdog at +110. Now, I gotta say, guys, those odds are close for a reason. This fight's gonna be extremely close, and these guys are legit fighters, man. They're super evenly matched. Shout out to the matchmakers, because this is gonna be a straight-up banger. This fight, the co-main, and the main event are gonna be bangers. Now, for as far as this fight, my best bet, in my opinion, is the over or fight goes the distance, because both these guys are super durable. Touchy-feely, usually takes his fights to the decision. I don't think he's going to be able to finish this fight on the mat. And if anything, I don't think that his wrestling advantage, his grappling advantage, is going to be that big over Bill Algeo. I mean, if you guys watched UFC Fight Pass, you would have saw my homie Shane Shapiro. Shout out to him submitting Andre Fili in like 50 seconds. Granted, it's BJJ, completely different sport, but still. Pretty bad look, especially when you consider his last MMA fight. He got sparked in 47 seconds. Granted, that's kind of a fluke that rarely happens in his career. Very strange outcome in that fight, I will say. But I'm a big fan of Fili. Got a close decision over Jourdain, and he got screwed with the eye poke against Daniel, I think his name was. He was beating his ass. He was on his way to a victory, in my opinion, and he got screwed via eye poke. They had to call the fight. So, I wouldn't say he's like on a slide or anything, like a negative slide or anything, but dude, Bill Algeo is a dog. Bill Algeo can scrap for sure. He's a bit unorthodox in his striking, but he's really good at applying pressure in his fights. He really pushes the pace, and I'm interested to see how Andre handles that. I think that Andre, will rely on his wrestling, and I'm interested to see if it can come through for him. He had great scrambles against Bryce Mitchell. It's one of my favorite fights to rewatch. So I don't know if Bill Algeo is going to be able to withstand that throughout 3 rounds. But like I said, guys, that's why I love the over. I love fight goes decision. Love over 1.5, 2.5 rounds. Yeah, so if you're going to bet this fight, bet Bill Algeo or Andre Fili via decision, either way. But as far as for the show, I'm picking Andre Fili to win via decision. It's going to be very close. Up next, we have a bona fide banger in the middleweight division between Chidi Bang Bang Njokuani and Gregory Rodriguez. Chidi comes in at 22-7, and Brazilian Obama comes in at 12-4. Now the line currently sits Chidi is a slight favorite at -110 and RoboCop at -105. I'm going with Gregory Rodriguez here, guys. Now I get it. He's an elite Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt that doesn't seem to have a sense of urgency to get those fights on the ground. Whereas Chidi Bang Bang is the elite striker, man, especially in the clinch. This guy is dangerous. Those elbows, those knees in the clinch, this guy's vicious, no doubt. But I will say, he's shown to have a suspect takedown defense. And, I gotta say, those fights that where he's showing to be taken down, it is in the past a few years ago. But still, I believe that Gregory Rodriguez knows that he needs to be able to get this fight down or he's going to get sparked. Yes, he's, one of those fighters that's willing to get into brawls, in the pocket. But even then, I think that his striking is, not terrible. So give me Gregory Rodriguez, man. I think that if this fight gets in the clinch, yes, along the cage, Chidi Bang Bang is super dangerous with those close elbows and knees. But I feel like the takedowns are going to be available in the clinch for Gregory. That's going to be huge. I don't think that he's going to be able to get the takedown maybe so in an open mat, but especially in the clinch, I do think that he's going to be able to get this guy down. So give me Gregory Rodriguez, man. Give me Gregory Rodriguez via second round or first round submission. The event at UFC Vegas 60 is going to be a straight up banger. We have Cory Sandhagen taking on Song Yadong. Cory coming in at 14-4, Song Yadong coming in at 19-6-1. Cory Sandhagen earlier in this week was -210 and he's currently -190. Song Yadong earlier this week was +175 and he's currently +170. Now I'm surprised at that line movement, as I expected a lot of money coming on Sandhagen. In my opinion, he's a more versatile, quicker, longer, and powerful striker than Song Yadong. In all honesty, I expect Song Yadong to have a KO or bust here. He didn't really like the kicks coming from Kyle Phillips, the only recent loss that he has. These other recent wins, he's been sparking dudes, man. The guy's super impressive, especially for his age. Song Yadong is only 24 years old, and he has a ton of high-level experience. He's, had a ton of great wins, and he's looked great on tape, man. This guy's so fast, so quick, and he's super powerful. The guy knows what he's doing, fights out of switch stance very often, and, can really put combinations together quickly. But I think that Cory Sandhagen is going to be too elusive, too long, and too rangy for Song Yadong here. And I'll be honest, guys, after getting absolutely washed by Aljamain Sterling, Cory Sandhagen has actually shown some pretty good grappling in his previous two fights, especially against TJ Dillashaw. I thought he was actually going to get him out of there a couple moments in that fight. In the Peter Yan fight, he did get dropped by a spinning back fist. That is a strike that Song Yadong likes to throw a lot. So, he's definitely going to have to watch out for that. But, man, I just think that his IQ is so high, Cory Sandhagen that is, that he's going to be able to piece together a win here. He's not going to walk away with half his check. I feel pretty confident in this pick. Give me the longer fighter, the guy that's fought 5-round fights more recently, shown that has the cardio. I just don't feel like Cory Sandhagen's going to lose this fight. I don't know. Give me Cory Sandhagen via either dominant decision or early finish. And with that, it's time to go over our official bets for UFC Vegas 60, Sandhagen versus Song Yadong. I'll be honest, guys, so far, we only have one bet, and it's a 2.2 unit bet on Loma Lookboonmee, -220. I feel like she's going to be safe everywhere, wherever this fight goes, for 15 minutes. I believe she's a better fighter, fighting a fighter that's on short notice, that hasn't fought the level of competition Loma has, or the competition Loma is. I feel like she has, all the tools to win this fight, and I feel safe. I would max bet this lock of the night 5-unit bet, but we are coming off a losing week, and so I really want to manage my bankroll smart. So it is women's MMA. It's probably going to the judges, so you can't really judge have enough faith in the judges to score it right. So give me Loma Lookboonmee -220 for 2.2 units. I feel really good about that bet. A couple other bets that we haven't bet yet, guys, that we're waiting to see if we can get a good line on, is Pat Sabatini, Cory Sandhagen, and the Andre Fili over. I love all those bets. I feel like they're going to hit. And so, yeah, man, make sure you follow us on Instagram. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. Let me know who you have in the comments. Make sure you guys bet Canelo via knockout against Triple G, because I do think that he's going to stop him this time around. And, yeah, man, good luck this weekend on your bets. And we'll see you guys next week. Peace.